Hello and assalamu alaikum everyone. I am Kashif Kamran and welcome to the Advanced Audit and Assurance March 24 Webinars to Success. And today is the fifth and the final day of this webinar. Now, over the last 4 days, I have investigated a quick grasp of the syllabus area A, B, C, D, E, and F. And on the fourth day of the webinar, I investigated the question number 1. Now, today on the final day of this webinar, I'm just looking at two very important things for the upcoming exams. Number one, investigating failure. And number two is the key enforcement, which is known as the key tips for the upcoming exams. Now, first of all, I would like to spend a good 30 minutes on investigating failures because to me, that is very important. You're all appearing for March 24 exams. Some of you might be giving the first attempt to the AAA paper, and there could be majority of the students who are going into March 24 as repeating the AAA paper many times. Now, I just want to address the failure in a very systematic manner because I just want everyone that over the next 2.5 weeks, you are just focused on the reasons of failure and you are ensuring that you are not doing any one of them and you are ready set for the March 24 exams. Let's start on with the discussion on the top 10 reasons why students fail the AAA exam. And I've carefully selected these as top 10, which to me is the most important reasons why students fail in the AAA paper. Now, I've been teaching this paper for over 16 years now. So there are lots of reasons which goes into the failure, but there are some top reasons which is very common among all failures, which I would like to discuss with all of you. Now, first of all, the very first reason why students fail in the AAA paper is the lack of accounting knowledge. All of you should be very well versed with your SBR knowledge. You know, there are three important areas in the paper where you need the accounting knowledge. Number one, a question on audit risk or the risk of material misstatement. Number two, a question on evidence. And number three, a question on report, audit report. Now, in all these three questions, you need to comment on the underlying accounting treatment. You need to identify what is wrong within the accounting treatment, and then you need to play the role of the auditor to investigate what is under and overstated. But when you are commenting on the accounting treatment, the sound accounting knowledge plays a very crucial part. Or when you are identifying what is wrong in the treatment, your sound accounting knowledge plays a very crucial part. So there are a couple of requirements in the AAA paper, and they all fall under the syllabus area D and E. And you know how important that is. So there are a couple of requirements which ask you to comment on the accounting treatment. You are commenting on the accounting treatment in the audit risk requirement. You're commenting on the accounting treatment in a risk of material misstatement requirement. You're commenting on the accounting treatment in a question on evidence, which asks you comment on the matters. And then in the reporting question, you are identifying what's wrong in the accounting treatment so you can identify what is the implication for the audit opinion. So please ensure that you're all well versed with your accounting knowledge. You have given SBR paper recently, that's excellent. But if the gap between the AA and AAA is a lot, I hope you have revised your accounting standards for March 24. You have revised your accounting standards. It's very, very important. Number two reason why students fail in AAA, lack of topic specific exam focus. I have guided this in my day one, day two, day three, particularly. I was telling you about the articles for all the syllabus area A, B, C, D, E, F. And I did mention that every examiner article has a section which tells you exam focus, how the topic will come in the exam. The students are preparing a topic, but they don't know how will it come in the exam paper because the students are not putting a lot of time on reading the technical articles which has been published by the examining team. And I've been very focused on that on my day one, and day 2 and day 3. I did recommended the articles to read. If you have not watched it, please go down and watch the day 1, day 2, and day 3 again, because I was very focused on that how critical the examining team articles are when it comes to giving you an exam focus, how a topic could be tested. So when you're preparing for exams in 2024, you should have a clarity that if I'm reading a topic, how would it be examined? It's not just the past papers. There could be something written in the exam focus section of the article which is not yet examined, and it could be examined in 2024 exams. So the past paper give you one perspective of how this topic was coming in the past papers, but there could be something in the exam focus section which is not yet examined. So lack of topic specific exam focus, I think this is one area which can easily be overcome through a lot of reading of the technical articles, which is important at the end of the day, because you need to have a technical grasp. Then only you can adapt yourself according to the exam requirement in a given exam situation. Number 3, running after quantity of practice. I've seen so many students who run after quantity of practice, who runs after loads of practice. And the success in the AAA paper lies in the quality of practice. And the quality of practice is the recent papers on the practice platform, the papers starting from December 2020 onwards. And the papers are available on the practice platform from December 20 onwards. So if you invest in those recent papers, if you invest in the specimen exams, which is applicable from September 22 onwards, when there were some changes in AAA, and the mock exam for March 24. I think this all makes roughly 11 papers. And this to me is the right exam definition of success. If you're going with old papers, practicing loads and loads of old papers from 2010, 12, 14, 16, you're just wasting your time. You just need to see what's coming recently. What is the examiner recent mindset? Because if you're unaware of the examiner recent mindset, you're not getting success. So one of a common reason is that students do a lot of practice, and then they tell me that we are still failing. Why? Because you're running after quantity. You're not running after quality. Quality will make you pass, right? Not the quantity. Number 4th reason, not doing much time focused practice before exam. Honestly, tell me, your exams are like 3 weeks away or under 3 weeks away. How many past papers have you practiced under time management? How many times have you put a timer of 195 minutes and you stop to write when 195 minutes is up and judge how much percentage of the paper have you completed at home? At least you need to do 8 recent papers under time management, because you need to understand this, that the time management is one of the significant issue in the AAA paper. And you cannot say, okay, I've been practicing past papers at home under 4 hours, under 5 hours, and on the day of exam, I'll easily do it under 195 minutes. No. If you are not doing the time-based exercise at home, you will struggle, and you will badly struggle on the day of exam to manage the 195 minutes. I've seen so many of the students who even struggle to complete 50% paper, because the real exam brings a lot of stress. And you can only realize that when you're sitting in the real environment. So please ensure you still have time, all of you, to sit down with a time-focused past paper exercise. Set 195 minutes and do 8 papers under that, even the mock paper, and ensure how much you complete. Your percentage completion will rise from the first paper to the 4th paper to the 7th paper to the 8th paper. So if your first paper gets like 65% complete, you might increase on that by the time you reach the 8th paper, and you will safely be doing 85 to 90% of the paper, which is fairly fine for AAA. So please ensure how much of you have focused on practice, but time focused practice. Tell me how many of you have focused on time focused practice by now. How many papers have you done under time focused? The ones who are taking this as a live session. How many of you have spent time on putting a timer, setting a timer, doing the past paper? Well, I'll be waiting for your messages, right? Number fifth reason of failure, not investing in reading and planning time. Now, I've always been very vocal on the investment you do in reading and planning. You know, there are 195 minutes. You know, there are 100 marks. You divide them. That's the simple mathematics. You know, there is 1.95 minutes per mark. So you're doing a 50 marks question, which includes professional marks. You multiply 50 marks with 1.95 minutes. You get the total time. Now, of that total time, 1/4 of that is reading and planning. And if I'm not wrong, roughly 24 minutes is the reading and planning time for question number 1. If I do that mathematics of 50 multiplied by 1.95 minutes, the total time, and then taking 1/4 of that. So roughly it's like 24 minutes you get for the first question to read and plan. Now, the students don't understand the importance of reading and planning. They just want to write the answer. They just want to rush over with writing of the answer. I don't understand this psyche of the student. Never. When you read, when you plan, you know the requirements, you know what to do, you know what the examiner wants you to focus on, you know how many points to write, you have read the case study, you have found the points from the case study, you have set the launching pad within the reading and planning time. Now, within the reading and planning time, you have copy pasted things from the exhibits. If it has come down to your word processing area. And after 24 minutes are over, for example, in the first question, you're set to launch and write a good answer in the remaining 74, 75 minutes. But how many of you really invest in reading and planning time? I found very few students, even in my class, who are very focused on reading and planning, or who are very focused on putting time on reading and planning, which to me is very, very important. Number sixth reason, overrunning time on question 1. You know there is a stipulated time for every question, but I don't know what happens with a student. They just overrun time on the first question. They try to excel it, they try to complete it, and they try to put extra time on the first question. It might even take you 120 minutes of the 195 minutes. At times, students put the whole 2 hours on the first question, which is way too much. I think the maximum time you have for the first question with that 1.95 minutes per mark is roughly 98 minutes. And in 98 minutes, wherever you are, you need to stop and move on. If you are not doing this practice of moving on, it will affect you badly. Because I always tell my students that where the time is up for the first question, stop and move on. If you're not having that ability to stop and move on, rather than you have an ability of excelling one question, you're failing. So please don't overrun time on one question. Try to ensure where the time ends for the first question, move on. Move on to the question 2, move on to the question 3, because there are so much opportunities for you awaiting in each of these questions to grab marks and to be successful. Number 7th reason, not writing a case specific answer. This is very, very important. You need to read the requirement. You need to understand what the requirement is expecting from you. What is the objective of the requirement? What is the purpose of the requirement? Then trying to connect that with the case study, trying to identify the relevant points from the case study, extracting them in your word processor, and then writing a wonderful answer. It's not alone knowledge, right? It's the adaptation of the knowledge of the topic you have according to the case circumstances. There is a case study, right? And the case study is giving you the facts. The case study is giving you the information. You need to extract that into your word processor and then ensure that you bring your knowledge about that topic and you adapt that knowledge according to the case situation and produce a wonderful answer. So if you're not writing a specific answer, if you're not writing an adaptive answer, to what the examiner is asking for, rather than you just writing a rote learned answer from the past paper on the same topic, or you're just writing the rote learned knowledge of the given topic. You're not impressing your marker at all, and you're not playing your role of a manager, and you will be hurting your professional skill marks. If you're not writing a case specific answer, I'll be coming to that. You will be hurting. You will be hurting your professional skill marks a lot, because one of the key of grabbing most of your professional skill marks is point number 7. Specific answer. Specific answer. It will help you grab most of your professional skill marks. Number 8, adding answers, unnecessary information. So just padding up the answers with unnecessary information. So you're putting just unnecessary information in your answer so that they look big, so that the marker become impressed with how lengthy answers have been written. Padding. Padding is not a good quality, right, within the students. They're just padding the answers. They're filling the answer with illogical information, with illogical stuff, with definitions, with knowledge, just to ensure their answer looks big. What are you doing? You are a manager. You need to exercise judgments. You need to demonstrate professional skills of analysis, evaluation, skepticism. But if you're just padding up your answers with unnecessary information so that they look big, so that they look impressive, that is not success. That is not success in AAA paper. Number 9, answer lacks depth of explanation. What is the definition of a well-developed point in AAA paper? Have you ever thought about that? What is the definition of a well-developed point in the AAA paper? Depth. That varies. If I'm writing a business risk answer, my depth could be 3 to 4 sentences, where I'm explaining the issue which is giving rise to the business risk. And then I'm trying to relate that with the underlying business objectives, that how this problem or how this issue would affect the business objectives, how it will impact the business. It might be 3 or 4 sentences. If I'm writing an audit risk or a ROM answer where we have the accounting treatment, I might be taking 4 to 5 sentences for commenting on the accounting treatment, then identifying what is wrong in the accounting treatment, which is the risk, and then commenting on what is under and overstated. This might be taking me to 4 to 5 sentences for a depth of the explanation. If I'm writing an ethical issue, my ethical issues could be 2 to 3 sentences, where I identify what is the ethical issue, like a threat, and then explaining in the context of the case why it is a threat, how the threat is arising. So this is a self-review threat, or this is a familiarity threat. This is hardly like half a sentence. But the remaining 2 lines or 2 sentences has to be written on why it is a threat. So the depth vary versus topics. Actions could just be 1 sentence. Procedure could just be 1 sentence long. So if you're putting an action, you're putting a procedure that could just be 1 sentence long. Even in the case of reporting questions, when you're telling what is the issue, whether it is a disagreement with management or it is a scope limitation, if it is a disagreement with management, what is wrong in the accounting treatment, justifying the accounting treatment, identifying the issue in accounting treatment, telling that you have to give a qualified opinion because it's material, defining materiality, then telling that if you are giving a qualified opinion, you have to give a basis of qualified opinion as well, in which you justify the reason of giving a qualified opinion. This might take you to like 5, 6 good sentences on one issue in reporting. So depth of explanations. I see students that write answers in bullets, one sentences, one liners. No, business risk, audit risk, risk of material misstatement, ethical issues. These are topics where depth is more versus procedures and actions. And the depth is something which needs to be linked to case. The case has to be supportive for your depth. I hope you're all clear with the number 9 reason. And last one, losing professional marks. If your answer lacks depth, number 9, if you're not writing case specific answer, number 7, both of them has a very strong link with number 10. You will lose most of your professional marks if your answer is not case specific 1 and your answer lacks depth. Evaluation, analysis, skepticism, probing something, investigating something, evaluating something, giving sound judgments, raising your judgments, giving strong arguments, ensuring everything is adapted to the case material. If you're writing an action, it is an action from within the case. If you're writing a procedure, it's a procedure from within the case. So if you're writing the implication of a business risk on the business, you need to look at the business in the case study. You need to see what are objectives of this particular business. And you need to modify your impact of a business risk according to the business given in the scenario. Calculations where necessary, materialities where possible, taking sound judgments where necessary. These are all things which add value to your professional skill marks. You know, there are communication skill marks in question number 1 as well. We covered that in the webinar. There are marks for raising sound judgments, for raising your opinions, for giving your sound, for giving sound basis of your judgment, wherever possible in the paper. Writing case-specific actions, writing case-specific procedures, they all add to your professional marks. So these are top 10 reasons. I hope you will study them. I hope you will go one by one on each one of them, and you will try to relate with yourself. Make it a checklist and see out of the 10 on your screen, which one relates with you, where you are still weak. You still have 3 weeks before exam to polish them up and make them your strength rather than make them your weaknesses. Is that clear to all of you? Are you all fine with investigating failures in AAA? Have you learned something out of it? Just waiting for your quick answers. Will you ensure that you try to overcome each failure and convert this to your strength rather than to your weakness? Okay, now that's one thing, right? The second thing where I want to spend my day 5 of this webinar is on the top tips. The key tips for March 24 exams. Now, the tips comes with disclaimer. Definitely, I'm not the examiner. I'm not the one setting the paper. But yes, in terms of my experience and what have come in the recent papers or what's happening around AAA, I can just give you my probabilities. Now, again, these tips are not a substitute of covering the full syllabus. You need to cover the full syllabus. You need to read articles. You need to do practice. The tips doesn't mean, okay, I'll just be doing this in the last 3 weeks and that is it. No. It is not a substitute of the complete 100% syllabus. Tips is just for a final revision. Tips is just to focus your time on. But tips doesn't mean that in the next 3 weeks, I'll just be looking at the tips and I'll be ignoring my syllabus. No, not at all. I hope the disclaimer is heard loud and clear by all of you. Okay, some of the tips recent with recent scenarios. Number 1, definitely the new article around IAAA 5000 exposure draft, which I even discussed on the day 3 of this webinar, holds importance along with the 2 articles I mentioned on the day 3 of this webinar around assurance on social, environmental, and sustainability information, because these 2 articles on assurance, social and environmental information, and the IAAA 5000 exposure draft itself is on sustainability assurance. There is a lot of a synchronization between these 3 articles, and these hold importance for the upcoming exam. Knowledge from IAAA 5000 any application from IAASA 5000 as I guided you on the day 3. I even recommended one question on day 3. So if anyone missed that out, please go down and watch the day 3. But that is important. Quality management continues to hold importance. We did discuss that on day 1. There are still a lot of exam focus in both quality management articles, which could turn potential for March 24 exams. I discussed that on day 1. I shown you the exam focus within the quality management part 1 article and the part 2 article. Some of that exam focus has already been tested. You can see repetition of the quality management questions which comes in the past paper, which is quite possible. You might see something new coming out of the quality management in view of the exam focus given in the article for quality management. So if anyone is not reading the article, is unaware of the exam focus, you're calling yourself into disastrous position. So on the day 1, I emphasized on the article. I have shown you the exam focus from both the articles. I hope you remember that. And if you've not watched the day 1, please ensure you do watch it. Quality management continues to be important. Number 3, a question around going concern. The question around going concern with matters and reporting implications like MURGC and evidence in working paper file. If you've seen the typical questions on going concern, I did address this on the day 2 of the webinar, that from the syllabus area E, you do get a question on going concern where you need to investigate the matters which raise doubt on the going concern status. You need to write evidence in working paper file around the cash flow forecast or around going concern, or you need to comment on the reporting implication. I see question around going concern as probable. Then the final tip, auditor liability. We know this is an article which is there in section B of the syllabus. We know this is published on the website since very long. We know auditor liability is a topic which I even do in my regular classes in my block 1 of the syllabus. But this article could be a surprise factor. We know examining team do ask knowledge of 6 to 10 marks in the paper. So, and something out of the auditor liability article could be important. So please ensure you're not ignoring auditor liability as a topic. Other than that, money laundering could make a comeback in March 24 exams. Fraud also seems important. The one in yellows, right? The one in yellows are more important. Skepticism seems important, and opening balances. So the one in yellows are more important. Laws and regulations, they did come in December 23, using the work of others, particularly the component auditor came in December 23. So I'm not giving that much weightage. I have included that in my list, but the one in yellows are more important. So auditor liability is important. Fraud is important, skepticism is important, money laundering is important, and opening balances are important. These are tips. These are my thought process, right? But one thing, for AAA, March 24 exams, whenever the AAA exams do take place, there is not one paper set, right? 3 papers, minimum, globally. So when the examining team is setting 3 papers, we do see students reporting from different part of the world that I got this as question number 1. Another student from Pakistan will say, no, I got this as question number 1. A student from Mauritius will say, I got this as question number 1. The differences. Some might get business risk, some might get audit risk, some might get risk of material misstatement. So ACCA is setting ideally 3 papers for AAA since last few attempts. And that means there is a chance that one topic comes in with one student, but that same topic is not with the other student. You might get another topic. So a paper in Pakistan could be different, a paper in India could be different, a paper in UAE could be different, a paper in Africa could be different. So that's how it is working in. Same time zones have same paper, right? So ACC has divided them into different time zones. I hope you're sound on clear and that. So on that basis, with multiple papers, the tips have become more difficult, more challenging. Okay, core holds the key. The tips is one thing, but 100% syllabus is what you need at the end of the day. Core holds the key. Now, what comes in front of your screen is not tips, it's the core. Business risk, that's always been the core. Audit risk, risk of material misstatement, that is always a core area. Procedures, that's a core area. Ethical and professional issues, that's a core area. Matters and evidence in working paper file, that is a core area. Review of prospective financial information, couple of questions on that in recent past papers, a core area. Forensic audit is a core area. Due diligence is a core area. Critical appraisal of the report is very favorite with examiner. Communication to those charged with governance, we have seen a lot of emphasis on that in recent papers. And I believe this might continue in the foreseeable future as well. Examining team is giving a lot of focus to number 10 in recent past papers, and this trend might continue. So please ensure, I even emphasized on my day 2 when I was doing the syllabus area D and E on the importance of reading the article around communication to those charged with governance. Number 11, matters, comments, and reporting implication. There is a typical question which comes in audit report that you need to comment on the matters. You need to find the reporting implication of each of the underlying issues. So you know that typical reporting question where there are different situations given to you. And for each situation, you need to comment on the matters and explain what is the impact on the report. Now, these are 11 areas which are not tips. These are not probabilities. These are important things underlying the AAA. Can you ignore them? Can you ignore them? Not at all. But yes, out of the 11, can you see some of them are marked in red? Out of the 11, can you see some of them are marked in red? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 11. That is important. That is important. So number 2 to me looks very important for upcoming exam. Number 3, definitely. Number 4 is definite again. Number 5, matters and evidence could be there. Review of PFI seems important. Number 11, a typical reporting question. But don't underestimate number 10. But at the end of the day, this is core, right? Core means this is something you must have done by now. This is something which makes the 100% paper. These are not tips. So I hope you're getting the message, right? What were tips? These were tips, right? These were tips. But these are not tips, right? These are not tips. These are core areas of the AAA paper. But yes, the ones in the red seems more important. I foresee that there is a chance that you get a question on audit risk and risk of material misstatement this time with no business risk. Because we saw that a lot in the December 23 exams. But still, this is a probability. Is that clear to all of you? Around core areas, around importance of doing the 100% syllabus, and a disclaimer around the key tips. Are you all sound with it? Any questions or anything you would like to ask in? Because that's the only agenda we had for the day 5, to spread the message on the key areas and to ensure that you're all familiar with why students fail in the AAA exam. Okay, so then that is it for the day 5 of this AAA.